I think the first thing we need to talk about is the value that that we each play in the dental office, like how vital and important we are. And I like to start with this because especially dentists listening, dentists invest a lot in CE and clinical and how can we do more procedures and how can we do them faster and better, but they don't necessarily invest in the team as much. And investing in your team is the best investment you can make. Front office, I feel, is vital, the front office team, to the success of your dental office. And the reason I say that is patients don't judge us on dentistry. They don't know whether you're a good dentist or not. They don't know whether you did a great crown and a good margin and a good shade match. They know how they feel when they're in the office. They know, were they greeted well? Did they feel comfortable? Did the team take care of them? Did they get all their questions answered? And for me, front office is the first and last person. Our team up front is the first and last touch with that patient. And they're going to remember that as they walk out, how they felt as they walked out of the office. So I think that the front office team members, we play a huge part in that impression, from the first phone call to how we schedule the patient, how they're greeted when they show up, how we ask for them to pay, and everything else that we do. And on top of that, in the front office, we not only, I know we're all focused on our jobs, but we have stuff coming at us from every angle. We have people walking in, moms with babies who are like, can you hold my baby during my cleaning? The toilet's overflowing, the phones aren't ringing, the server's broken. So we have a lot, and we play a big part in that. So investing in your team, and for me, investing in your front office is the best investment you can make, because the better we're trained, the better we understand the importance of customer service and experience, the better your team can be. Now, we can be amazing in the front, and then if the assistant walks up and drops the ball, then this is the next spot where it's important. And I think the dental assistants, I love front office. I'm all about front office, but I think the dental assistants are right up there with us, because in my mind, dental assistants spend more time with the patients than anybody. So Kevin, can you speak on that and tell us where you find the value and where the role is for dental assistants?
It's funny because what you just described a lot with the front office, honestly, I see the same thing with assistants. And yet there's so much tension sometimes between the front and the back that I often go, do you all realize how similar you are, that you're wearing 10 different hats, and that you're spending really those two areas, assistants and front office, are leaving the biggest impression on the patient. Now, I know a lot of you are sitting there going, well, the hygiene appointment and everything else, and I agree with that. But at the end of the day, and I've had so many assistants tell me this, that the doctor will walk in, tell Mrs. Jones that she needs a crown, will walk out to start in the next operatory, and Mrs. Jones is going to turn to the assistant and say, well, what do you think?
Right.
And at that point, if your assistant doesn't have his or her clinical skills and even his or her sales skills, dare I say, at the top of their, weaponry, shall we say, then it's not going to be a positive experience. And it's really important for that patient to know that whatever the assistant says is the same thing the doctor would say, is the same thing the front office would say, the same thing the hygienist would say. And that takes teamwork, and it takes everybody being on the same page. And Laura, you and I both know we go into a lot of practices, and we see a lot of practices that's not the case.
Yeah, completely. And I think part of that is team meetings and huddles, which that's a whole nother subject that we can have, because that comes from the leadership and the doctor down. But we all, I feel, get into our world. I'm in the operatories. I'm a hygienist. I'm in my operatory. I'm in the front office. This is my desk. The doctor's in their office. But we have to come together as a team. Yeah. Because if you get too focused, that's where I feel like we have assistants against front office and assistants against hygienists against. That's where we have this. We become too departmentalized, and we're not working together as a team.
Well, and you see, so often it's my schedule. You shouldn't be putting patients there because you're screwing up my day. And so often at the end of the day, when you boil it all down, everybody in that practice wants their patients to be well, and they want to run a successful business. At least that's the hope for both those things.
Right.
And so, if you boil everything aside from that bubble you're talking about and the my attitude that so often creeps in, that helps alleviate a lot of these things. I know we're going to talk about communication here in a little bit, but you've got to find those common ground areas. No matter where position you are in the practice, you've got to find common ground with the other team members to make that a successful business.
Right. So before we move on into ideas and suggestions that we have, tell me how you feel, and I didn't prep you for this, so tell me how you feel about the doctor's role in this, and how, because at the end of the day, we all work for this doctor. We work for our patients and we work for a doctor. And yes, we need to work better as peers and team members, but how do you feel the doctor plays into that role, and how can we educate our doctors on the importance of this?
It was banged in my head as the managing editor for dental economics for so long. The dentist is the leader. And I know he or she often doesn't like that title. They want to be the clinical. They don't want to mess with the HR and the drama and everything else. But at the end of the day, that dentist, it's his or her business. And he or she is often the highest paid employee of that business. So they've got to take that leadership role. And if there's drama going on, you don't just push it under the rug, and you don't say, well, we'll deal with that next week. Because as a patient and as a customer, and I can tell you, I left a dental practice because of this. I was in there when there was tension. And as a customer, you can feel it whenever you walk into a business. So I absolutely believe that dentist has to nip that in the bud. They've got to show that leadership skill, and they've got to make sure that they, again, find that common ground that everybody can agree on.
Yeah, it's funny. I worked at a dental office for a little while when I moved to San Diego. And I walked in and there was this front desk that was beautiful, check in, check out, really pretty front desk. But in the middle of the front desk was this wall with a door in it. And it didn't really flow. It didn't fit. And I said, that's weird. I mean, this is a beautiful office, but why is that wall and that door there? And they said, because the girl that used to sit here and the girl that used to sit here didn't get along. So what the dentist did was build a wall between them so they didn't have to see each other.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Right, exactly. But if you think about it, dentists went to dental school to be dentists. Sure. And all of this other stuff we have going on in the office, they would rather just do this and just ignore it many times than address it. But addressing it is important. Now, the reason I bring this up is if you're watching this, or in the future when you watch this, we do have tension between front and back sometimes. We do have assistant hygienists. And we do need our doctors to understand the importance of repairing it, fixing it, changing the culture, communication, whatever. But if you go to your doctor and just complain, and point fingers and say it's them, your doctor's probably going to do more of this. Yeah. One of my suggestions is that you come to the doctor with whatever issues going on and some suggestions. Maybe we need a team meeting. Maybe we need some training. Maybe we need some whatever. But don't just dump it on the doctor's desk, because it does become a lot of finger pointing, which isn't going to solve the problems between the front and the back or whomever.
Yeah, completely agree. I'll often talk about, if you walk into a Starbucks and the baristas are having an issue with each other, you may be a little hesitant to drink that cup of coffee, at the end of the day. And that's unfortunately what happens with a lot of our patients. If they walk in and they know that something's going on in there. So at the end of the day, you've all got to come together and say, what is best for our business? What is best for our patients? And try to put those personalities aside. And again, find that common ground, which I hope is your mission statement, or whatever you really believe drives your business. Everybody should be on board with that one thing for sure.
And that's where starting this with you and I, is that we need to understand, why are we here? As a receptionist, as a scheduler, as a dental assistant, why are we here? It's not to point fingers or to say my job's harder than yours or whatever. It's for our patients. At the end of the day, we are here to help our patients. And so we need to leave our drama at the door, leave our attitudes at the door, and come in and work together as a team. Because I'm working with dental intel, and one of the statistics I found with dental intel is most offices are shrinking every month because they're losing patients out of the back door.
Yeah.
And I feel there's two reasons we lose patients out of the back door. It's our systems aren't in place, and the experience we're giving the patients. They come in, much like you said, and they feel the whatever's going on in the office, and then they cancel the next appointment because it's just not the way it used to be when they started or whatever. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's a dentist in Memphis, and near the team entrance in the back, and a lot of practices have those, he has a big luggage rack, and above it says, "Leave your baggage here."
That's
right. Every day, whenever you walk through that door, I don't care what just happened on the way into work, if you just had the worst fight with your spouse, whatever, it goes there, because your patients are your top priority the minute you walk through that door.
Exactly.